Get the meeting started. This is Rules and Open Government Committee meeting for September 4th, 2013. Unless we have any changes to the agenda, we'll just start at the beginning, which would be the September 10th council meeting agenda. Anything to note on page 1?
Special time,
9 o'clock? Okay.
9 o'clock.
You think we'll need the time?
Yes.
Okay. 9 o'clock. Since we didn't have a closed session meeting this week, we'll have a few extra things. So 9 o'clock start. Anything on page 2 or 3?
Just
I've
a,
got
a deferral there for 1.1.
1.1. That's the combination Rick Holden will defer to October 8th.
Mayor, I want to note on page 2, item 2.2A, those are the changes to the campaign ordinances. In going back with council direction, we realized we need to do another first reading, come back with it because there are significant changes. So that will appear on the September 17th for first reading and then come back the following week for the second reading. So we're losing about 2 weeks.
Okay. Anything else on page 2 or 3? Page 4 or 5? Page 6 or 7? Page 8 or 9? 3.3 is the council priority policies and ordinances. Occurred immediately following the consent calendar. The staff memo is out. And I have a question for the committee to think about. We have top 10 list and 7 standby items, 3 of which the staff are recommending moving into the top 10. So there's that question. But the question is, do we want to then add more things to the standby list? Or the fact we already have a standby list, do we need to move anything? Or
you could revisit the standby list as well. So.
Right. So I think it's a question I'd like to
Sounds like a can of worms.
have the committee help us decide on that. So the first question would, I think, for the council to consider would be whether or not the 3 that staff thinks go in the top 10 or the 3 out of the 7. But at the last setting session, we identified the 7 to go on standby to fill in as things get moved. So there's really nothing in the next 6 months. We're not likely to need any additional items beyond what's on the standby list based on the rate of things moving.
So, is there any reason we have this then? I mean, do we really need a discussion if we've given a top 10 list and a next up 7 list? It would seem to me if we haven't really have space on there, then maybe we should defer 6 months and deal with it when we have potentially space to do something. I would just hate to take things that staff has started working on and all of a sudden shuffle it off the 10 and move it into a standby list.
So as a practical matter, I think we've already taken, I believe it's 3 out of the 7 and started working on those. So it's the remaining 4 that are truly standing by. And again, depending on the urgency of the other issues on the larger list from the council's perspective, we could either proceed with the 4 or
well, I think
add.
Probably the question that you would need to answer at the meeting was, do you think you'll get done with more than 4 in the next 6 months? And we need to have something standing by based on the projected workload, in which case we might want to pick something so you have that. So that would be a question that if you don't know the answer to, we could wing it, okay. I suppose.
Unfortunately, I don't know the answer to it at this moment. I could certainly.
But having set this up and is on the agenda and the council members are interested in it, I think we've got to leave it on the agenda, but just anticipate that we have the 3 that staff has pulled out of 7, council to consider that. And then the question would be whether or not we say, are there any you want to take off of the standby list and replace with something else? Because if you haven't started work on it, we could take it off, take 1 or more off and shuffle it around, I suppose. Or we could do nothing and just defer it for 6 months. But I'd rather have the council defer it for 6 months than us, because I know we've got several memos from council members who want to talk about some of the things.
Mayor,
Yes.
I understand that staff only has so much time, and that's the purpose of prioritization, is understand what's the most important with the resources we have to move things forward. We have thing that's in pipeline, thing that's about to be worked on in progress. I think we sort of talked about this one for a while. I'd rather go through with it, allow council to prioritize the things that might come next when staff has time, and do that this coming Tuesday. And if it's, it's not clear to me, though, how many spots that, I think we should work that out. How many things do we want to put in the next line? Is it 3? Is it 5? Do you want to allow X votes out of the number? But I think we should prioritize, because there's been some things on that list that have been pending for a long time that members of the public would like to see happen. And even if we're not going to get to it for a while, at least let's make the prioritization on Tuesday. And when staff's available, it's available.
Vice Mayor?
Yeah, thank you. I agree with Councilmember Oliverio. I think that even though the intent, or my intent would to move some of the things that staff hasn't touched yet for another 6 months, but I think that if we give the flexibility for the council to actually vote on it so that everyone will actually be satisfied with the process, I think that's probably a better way to go.
And then just my concern on process, let's have a very deliberate way for council to prioritize, not some random motion that gets amended 3-4 times that no one understands, but just simply voting on the things you think are a priority, whether it's rank order or just selecting 3 out of X or whatever it might be.
Okay, well, let me suggest 2 sequences of votes. The first would be, if the council approves, that the 3 the staff recommended are the 3 that should move onto the top 10. And then beyond that, why don't we just say vote for 3 and we'll add them to the standby list. So we had a standby list of 7. We worked off 3 of them. Let's add another 3 to the standby list. That way we know we'll vote for 3 like we have in the past out of the 30 or whatever. Council members can pick their top 3, and if something gets 6 votes, it can go on the standby list.
I think that's a good idea. I think my main concern is that we don't take something off the top 10 list that's there and that we've already got some inertia on.
Right.
So that we're only working on the standby list. So
Okay.
I support the 2-stage, like you said, move the 3, a vote to move the 3, and then a prioritization of how we replace those 3 on the standby list.
And then follow-on question, Mr. Mayor. So assuming that we go forward on the September 10th and with the work that's already being delegated and in the process of being delegated and standby, the next time we would have a prioritization ordinance meeting would be in about a year?
Well, we usually do it every 6 months, but that all depends on the pace at which we are moving things off the list. So I think before we set another one, we want to look and see if we've actually moved anything off of one list onto the other.
But the
before we-
council and the public should be accustomed to that these meetings are not often, and because it takes time to do these things.
Right.
It's not like we're going to have one, all of a sudden have one in 30 days.
Well, I think what we should do before we set another one is to have that discussion first about, well, what's on the list, how much room is there on the list, and is there anything that can be moved anyway, and then maybe that we just not hold the next one, which would be typically in February. Okay, enough on that page. Page 8 or 9, anything else? Page 10 or 11, item 4.2, there's a recommendation to drop the appeal of the planning director's addendum on the Cisco Systems Site 6 EIR. I'm not inclined to drop that. I understand the appeal has been withdrawn. I'd like to give the council a chance to discuss it, because it appears to me that the CEQA process is being abused. This isn't the only one, but particularly in North San Jose. And I'd like the council to have a chance to understand what's going on, what's happening, and figure out if there's anything we can do, given the Habitat Conservation Plan and all the other elements of this. And it might be we do it under this item instead of dropping it. We note that it's been withdrawn. Can we do that? And have a conversation about it, not take any action necessarily, but at least to have the discussion.
Yeah, we may want to play with the language to make sure that if the appeal's been withdrawn, then the issue's moot. But I understand the idea is to talk about the topic
Right.
without having an appeal.
Yes.
So we can work with the clerk's office.
Because wherever you have a staff report, it's on the agenda, it's a chance to talk about it and give some direction to staff to do something. Not take action,
Yeah.
but
Yeah,
further work.
And in the
for-
context of the HCP, it is something that's very
Right.
relevant.
So rather than drop that, we'll get staff to just change the agenda language so it's clear what we're having a discussion, even though it's been withdrawn. Anything else on 10 or 11? 12 or 13? 14? This is the reimbursement agreement with the successor agency, the redevelopment agency. Is this the one we're constantly trying to figure out with the county?
Yes.
Does this mean we've got it figured out with the county, or we're just still thinking?
You know, it's been a moving target.
Yes,
it's-
even when we've got it
This
figured
one's
out.
not over until it's signed.
Okay.
So this is, right now, I think the intent is to come forward with some agreement, but
Okay, so
wait and see.
it's probable. I have a request to add Councilmember Camus's travel to Washington DC for the leadership group trip. Any other additions? That's the only written one I have. Any other changes? All right, read a motion.
Motion to approve with the ads.
Motion is to
Second?
approve with the additions and the modification of the agenda language and the other things that we've talked about. Anything else on that motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unopposed? That's approved. September 17th. Anything on page 1? Page 2 or 3? Page 4 or 5? Page 6 or 7, I have a question on 3.4, the grand jury report on the state of public safety disability retirement rates in the country. I don't know if I haven't seen that report. You know, is the response already out? So it should be county, right? County.
Right.
But is the response out?
If the report's out.
Tomorrow. yeah.
It'll go out Friday, so we'll still have the 10 days. Okay, so it'd be county, not country. Anything else on 6 or 7? Page 8 or 9? Page 10 or 11? I have no written requests for additions. Any other changes or things to talk about?
Motion to approve.
Second?
Motion is to approve the draft. On the motion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Opposed, that's approved. Study session agendas, nothing to talk about. Legislative update, Betsy's here if you have any questions, but no report on state or federal. Meeting schedules, you have a recommendation from Planning Department, set a general plan hearing on October 22nd at 7 p.m. and an evening council session November 5th at 7 p.m. in order to handle the general plan items that are moving forward. Any questions on that, Laurel, Sarah, if you have anything? This would be an extra evening meeting, but we don't, let's see, November 5th, we don't meet Thanksgiving week, I think, and we don't meet November 11th or 12th because of the holiday.
12th is canceled, and the next evening isn't until the 19th, and the 26th is canceled.
Okay, so we have some meetings in November, but not many. Any questions on that? You just need to set the dates.
Question, Mayor?
Yes.
Maybe this is for our planning director. How many items do you anticipate being on that October 22nd, 7 p.m. meeting?
We have a lot of items.
Would you
It will
say
be
it's a
long
dozen?
night. To the extent that we can put some of them on consent, we would be happy to do so, both for the zoning items as well as the general plan items. We'll have a better sense when we get to Planning Commission at the end of September, how much public interest there will be,
At least 10?
at least.
And then these general plan hearings, remind me, are done once a year or twice a year?
We do them once a year.
Okay.
So this will be the first general plan hearing that we've had since the adoption of the 2040 general plan.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, not directly related to these dates, but as you're looking at meeting schedules, just like to call for your information, that we had talked about a September 26th Urban Villages Planning study session. At this point, it looks like staff has determined that that issue is not quite ready for the study session, so we'll pull back, and you now have that date available for whatever else you'd like to do with it.
Do we want to release the date or hang on to it for some other study session? I don't think there's anything
I don't
else
think
that's
there's
ready
anything
to
else
go.
prepared to go.
That's correct. We have nothing else.
Could talk about
Planned.
mutual goals.
There's plenty of things we could talk about, but none of them that are ready.
Motion to release the date.
Second.
Okay. So motion, let's see, can I get a motion to approve the hearings and to release the date, or did we already vote on the hearings? Already lost track.
No, we didn't.
Okay, so all three of those items in one motion?
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Opposed? Those are
Is
approved.
there a way you can vote unhappy? But, okay. Yes, but unhappy.
Yes, but unhappy. Public record, anything committee would like to pull for discussion?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I just want to make a comment on item B, and I know you guys have received a few emails, and I've already referred this over to Campbell School District, even though this resident doesn't seem to grasp the fact that this is in the city of Campbell, not the city of San Jose. But we've done everything we can at a staff level, from the police department and code enforcement and everything else. And we have been working with the city of Campbell and the school district. So just a note that it's been handed off and it's not a San Jose issue, and note and file everything.
Second.
Okay. Motion is to note and file on the motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And opposed, that's approved. Nothing under boards, commissions, and committees. We have a few things to talk about under Section G versus League of California Cities resolutions. Betsy?
Thank you, Mayor, members of the committee. Betsy Shotwell, Director of Intergovernmental Relations. Every year, I bring forward the resolutions proposed for the League of California Cities Annual Conference, where the cities will vote up or down these measures. We always have a voting delegate at the conference. This year, Councilmember Herrera. And the two resolutions submitted, and I should say, in years past, there used to be 25, 35 resolutions, so I'm pleased they're narrowing the focus, and you have before you two resolutions. One, the first one having to, which recommends calling on the governor and the legislature to work with the league in providing adequate funding and to prioritize water bonds to assist local government in water conservation, groundwater recharge, and reuse of stormwater and urban runoff programs. This is not a resolution to actually support the November 2014 bond measure. That is yet to be finalized, but as it is being finalized, this gives league direction, league staff direction as to being at the table and having our 2 cents put into the mix as far as these issues and trying to get adequate funding. You may have seen in the press the measure is shrinking rapidly as the public support for $11.5 billion measure has declined, and now the measure is around $5 billion. But that could be up or down. So this is a resolution to approve if the committee feels they would like to. My recommendation is to approve, and staff.
Motion
Right.
approved.
Second.
Motion approved, both?
The second one having to do with public safety realignment funding, and it generated out of Councilmember Constant's Public Safety Committee.
Okay. We have a motion to approve both. On the motion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None opposed. That's approved.
Thank you.
Just one thing on the realignment. I don't know if we know how much it's actually costing us, but it's not without cost to us. And so I think that's an element for police forces as well as the sheriffs, but particularly police forces, because I know that I've heard some stories of where we've gotten in to do things that normally would have been done by state officials, but now are being done by county officials, and we're having to step in, and our department's having to step in and do a lot more than we used to. And that's just one of those hidden costs it's not really obvious, but it clearly is a growing cost to us. I know the state's saving some money, but it's an ongoing problem. I guess that's my commentary, so thank you. The next item is SB 594.
Thank you. My recommendation in consultation with the city attorney's office and Roxanne Miller, our lobbyist in Sacramento, is to have this item dropped. For now, it was amended Friday. You probably were getting a lot of league alerts on this. This would have greatly restricted the League of California Cities and Cal Chiefs and other groups and associations statewide to be involved in state or local ballot measure activities. I don't know if the city attorney wishes to have any input on this.
No, other than to note that the league has dropped its opposition to neutral. So it has been scaled back extensively. It deletes any school board reference in it or exempts them. And with respect to other nonprofits, it's less restrictive. And so the league, I think, feels comfortable. And that was really our concern in terms of being able to effectively influence any legislation.
And of course, we'll be watching this as we do with all of the bills very closely up until midnight, September 13th, just in case.
You never know what's in the bill until after it's adopted.
Which is Friday the 13th, by the way.
Yes,
So do we need to take action on this, or we're just going to drop this?
to drop it.
Okay. Then we'll move on to
Thank
G4 and 5, which are two special events, Mexican Independence Day flag raising and Muslims for Lifeblood.
Motion approved.
Second?
Motion is to approve both items as special events. On the motion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None opposed. That's approved. Item G6 is University Corridor Overlay along Story Road. We have a memorandum from Councilmember Campos requesting that we add this to the list of items to be considered in the priority setting on September 10th that we talked about earlier. Councilmember Campos, you want to speak to your amendment?
Thank you, Mayor. I was first going to apologize for my attire today, but thank you, Pete, for wearing a polo. So I won't have to.
I'm always wearing them.
Thank you, and actually, you know, I listened to the discussion that you had, and basically, the reason why I'm bringing this forward is, again, to give the council an opportunity to discuss and debate what should be added to the list. One of the reasons why this is of interest, of great interest, not just to me, but to the neighborhood and the National Hispanic University leadership, is that, one, they don't want to lose an opportunity to create the atmosphere of a little, for so to speak, a little college town feeling. And the way that you can make sure that development happens the way you plan on it is to make sure that the land use is consistent with what is around you. And right now, you know, the 2040 general plan is a great piece of work, but there were some holes in it, and this is one of the holes. The area that is commercial, with the exception of the big shopping centers, that's next to National Hispanic University, are zoned commercial office. In the general plan, it has it zoned or designated as residential. And if you take a look at the section that is currently commercial office, there's no way that you would ever have residential there again. There wouldn't be a council that would support that. It would completely go against what our policies are in terms of jobs, lands, conversion to housing. And then two, it's just not compatible with what the neighborhood and that university corridor should have. So all I'm asking is for consideration to add it to a list for the council to discuss, and to, if you want to add it to the parking lot, then, you know, I think we're doing that part of the city a great justice to try to correct, you know, some land use designation. And I don't know if, Laurel, you want to add anything in terms of workload and, you know, what we would be looking at in terms of needing to make the conversion. The last thing I do want to add is that, you know, again, the city looking at wanting to move at the speed of business, we shouldn't just do that for driving industry, but we should look at the small business owner or landowner that wants to do something productive with their property. Right now, the only tool they have if they want to convert, which there is someone that's looking at converting, is through the plan development zoning process. And I know that, you know, PD zonings have been abused in the past, and I know our city wants to get away from that. And, you know, I would just ask the council to make that consideration in correcting some land use here.
Thank you. Just briefly, Laurel Privetti, Assistant Director for Planning, Building, and Code Enforcement. We certainly share the goal of, you know, making sure that we've got the right zoning to indicate the appropriate businesses in and around the university. Again, it's a matter of council priority with our limited staff capacity. What are the work items that you would like us to focus on? So we certainly respect and are interested in meeting this need, but we're trying to balance all the other council priorities that are before us. Thank you.
Laurel, before you go, if we add this to Tuesday's discussion, are you prepared to talk about it, you know, during the council meeting?
Yes, of course.
Okay.
I just had a quick question. I just have a quick question. So is this saying that we'll define a new overlay, that we don't have a university designation now?
We don't. I call it form-based zoning because that's just stuck in my mind. That type of overlay would actually serve the needs of this corridor. I think are we calling it neighborhood, urban village overlay? That would meet the needs. Right now, again, the zoning on that strip is commercial office, and you know, there's businesses there that are not commercial office, and there's businesses there that are falling in the commercial office that are not very desirable. One of them is a marijuana shop, and the other one is a tattoo parlor. You know, and when you're looking at growing this university, and as a university looks well into the future, you know, bookstore type services, other retail establishments, that's sort of what we're looking at.
Okay, I guess that's the type of information I'd like to hear when we have a little bit of time to talk about it. Would an urban village plan achieve what you're looking for and kind of conform to what we're doing everywhere else in the city, or is this something that we have to build from scratch? Just because I'm not familiar with this type of stuff.
Okay.
But I'm not opposed to having the discussion.
Well, we can talk about that on Tuesday.
Yeah.
If Laurel will be prepared to do that. We have a motion to add it to the
Sure,
list.
I'll make the motion.
Okay.
Pardon me. I'll be supporting it as well. Just a question for Laurel, though. If someone wants to come with a project, they certainly could do it today through the PD. It's just a matter of what's your time to get there, because the PD has a certain length of time, and waiting for this to get ordinance to get prioritized might be longer, depending on the council discussion.
That's correct, and I think that's really what our small businesses would need to debate, and we have this conversation all the time in the permit center for some of our other pending ordinances. Do the businesses want to wait, or do they want to move forward and do that tailored zoning, bring it before council, et cetera? So that is an option for our small businesses. I think what we're trying to do is grow the toolkit so that way we have another, and this would be a tailored zoning overlay to deal with the unique business opportunities in the university area. So probably our urban village zoning district that's already underway wouldn't exactly meet the specific goals of this one, but it's really how do we create multiple avenues so our businesses can have success in San Jose.
Okay, we have a motion to add it to the list to be considered on Tuesday. On that motion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unopposed? That's what we'll do.
Thank you.
Category H, additions to council committee agendas and work plans. Public Safety, Finance, and Strategic Support Committee, a request to add to the September 19th meeting and September 23rd meeting agenda of the Community Economic Development Committee, the 2013 California Building Standards Ordinance implementation.
So I'll make that motion. I know that initially we didn't think we were going to have a quorum at Public Safety Committee, but I've changed my travel plans to make sure I'm here so that we can have it. So
Second.
we'll gladly accept.
Okay. Motion is to add those items to those two committees. On the motion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unopposed? That's approved. Open forum. Any requests to speak under the open forum? I have no cards. We're done. We're adjourned. Thank you.